Well, I want to jump back to the announcements that you mentioned in the keynote in a bit. But before we do that, I kind of want to just talk general Twitch. And then we'll jump back into the announcements towards the back half of this. Just right up front, like, what is the company directive at Twitch right now? What are you guys like? What's the mantra moving forward? You're under a new CEO. Things have definitely changed from a public facing side of things. Like, what's the goal right now at Twitch? If you guys had to kind of distill it down to a singular goal.
And Mike, if your answer isn't money, I'm going to be very disappointed. Money, Mike.
Money, Mike. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, let me just correct that. I said 8 letters because I was thinking MNNY, Mike.
Yeah, it works. It's fine.
You know, I think it is important to acknowledge, like, Dan has brought a new, call it energy. So, in terms of what he's doing out there, really engaging, really spending a lot of time with the community. And I think that's great. And I think it's certainly centered us a bit in terms of, the importance of what we do and recognizing that, we don't always get it right, but we're certainly out there trying to improve the service for the long term. As you give you a mantra, it really is earn trust. It really is we talk about it constantly. Like, what do we need to do to really engage with the community in a way that, disclose and be as transparent as we can possibly be about our intentions, our motives, and really what we're doing here in a way that, re-earns the trust that's been honestly lost a bit over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I would say the reason we want that is we ardently believe that Twitch is the best place to be a streamer. We want to make sure that it remains that. It has been for the last decade, and it should be. You should feel confident when you fire up OBS today and choose where you kind of send your video, that Twitch is the best place to do that. And so some of that is in terms of how we communicate and just make sure that people understand, as Mike said, and Dan's really kind of driven a lot of that. And then, Mike and I think we published our letter at the start of the year saying that we want to make sure that both the outcomes you get in terms of audience and revenue are the most, but also the level of effort and energy you have to put in to get those same outcomes needs to keep going down. So
Sure.
If you talk to the product and engineering teams, that's where we're really focused, which is like, how do we maximize outcomes while minimizing the time, energy, and effort it takes to be a streamer? And we just want to do that consistently and talk to you very openly so that you believe us when we say that.
Right. Coast thinking.
So I want to, from a layman's term, I obviously, as a full-time streamer, I think all of us can say we appreciate hearing that. But obviously there's been like some public steps in directions that may not be totally in sync overtly with what you're saying, we'll say. Like the reduction in sub-split, the things of that nature. The more recent Partner Plus program brought up the issue of it not applying to nearly as many, like people thought were like, oh, this is awesome, big step in the right direction. And then some numbers came out and they're like, wait, this doesn't apply to a lot of people. What's going on here? And that caused confusion because that sends kind of like a mixed message. We want to help you if you're in the 2.5%. Like how, when you walk the line with that kind of stuff, what on your end, like what's the long-term thinking with this stuff? I mean, obviously that when you first look at it, it's kind of like, oh, streamer, less money, which is the overt surface level stuff. What's the long-term thinking with things like this? In terms of like where the other revenue is going to come from and grow, most importantly.
Right. And we've said this in different forums, like live streaming is a hard business. Like it just absolutely is in terms of the costs and the revenue and the scale to make it all work in a way that is, long-term sustainable. But let's talk about the Partner Plus and the premium, just, so we had the announcement, I guess it was last summer, if I recall correctly, where we were, removing the premium program and that not allowing streamers to access it. What we acknowledged at that point was it wasn't really, objective. It wasn't transparent in terms of how to get it. There was a bit of a, was not something that we thought was the right solution long-term. And then announced that, over a period of time, and I actually, as far as I'm aware, there's no streamer that's actually been impacted by that yet because it was quite a long, forward-looking, through contracts, et cetera. The Partner Plus, and that was a few thousand streamers, right, that had access to that over the years. And so Partner Plus was similarly sized. I know the numbers that have been the communities found through, the folks that crawl the APIs, et cetera, suggested it was about 1,000. It's actually quite a bit more than that, but still call it a couple thousand, just in the interest of
Okay.
round numbers.
That was one thing also. I
but-
was wondering how accurate that information was,
Yeah,
because none of it
this-
was official. So which just added
This
more
was the
confusion.
infographic that was going
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
Right.
And the thing about that is you can see in the bottom there's no Twitch branding at all
Yeah,
outside
this
of,
is-
so
this is all
that's why we were all
straight
kind of like, is this accurate? Is this right? And it just like added more confusion. So, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Yeah, no, all good. But if you take the two populations together and you assume, again, round numbers, 50,000 active streamers a month, you're reaching about 10, 12, 15% of partners. Sorry, to be clear here. Now, is that where we want to be in the long run? No. Dan said it. I've said it. Like, we're going to keep working. Like, we did what we could at this time. But that isn't to say that we're done. We're very focused on, the set of streamers, particularly the folks like all of you in this room that are dedicated to your craft. Like you create content consistently, you have a community, and pushing, more revenue share to, streamers like you is hugely impactful in terms of being able to keep you doing what you do. So the bar was, 350 this time around. That's not the magic number that's for all time, and we'll keep working to get more streamers access to an increased rev share.
So
And just
outside
to
of
echo
just,
in-
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, one of the things that when Mike's talking about, what we can do and stability is to say, like, we really have been running this business for what is almost a total of 17 years now, right? I count from the JTV days on. It's the same tech stack, and many of you have been in communities since those days. One of the things that is really tempting to think about all the time is like, great, how do we, there's more that we could do in the short term, but you want to make sure that you are building a really sustainable business so that you can keep doing it for the next decade. And I think everybody here has seen plenty of folks come and go in the space because they chase that short-term high, right? And I think it's really important that you kind of understand from us that we genuinely want to be here over the next decade and want to make sure we're in a position to do that. I think one of the things you highlighted though, Ko, is like, it's very easy to not understand a full arc if all you're hearing is like on one sentence at a time. It feels much more like Mad Libs, right?
100%.
Here's the thing we're doing today.
Sure.
And here's the thing we're doing today. And then here's the thing we're doing today. And it lacks a narrative arc. And I think that's one of the things that we are really working, on and working out how do we share that broader vision for how does the next kind of, couple years pan out collectively so that each time you don't have to interpret our actions in a vacuum.
Right.
And as Mike said, that's where all of that trust buildup comes from. That's in part why we started the year just from Mike and I personally, we started the year by publishing, here's what we want to do with product this year, so that each time we release something, you can go back and see how that fits into that arc. And I think there's more that we can do as a company to talk not just about, individual features or individual programs and their arc, but like the platform or the service, the nature of being on the service, all of those elements of it, and how we see that evolving.
Sure. Co, you had a follow-up?
Yeah, one thing I was kind of wondering about is of course we've also seen the growth of ads and Twitch pushing ads, but we've also seen in some ways them become more lucrative. Is the plan to are we going to see that trend continue? Like, is the ad program going to continue to become like more interesting, more lucrative for streamers? Is kind of like the sub split settles? Is there, as part of what you're talking about, Tom, with the longer term goal, is it kind of in Twitch's point of view? Do you see yourself as a platform for content creators, or more of like an ad platform facilitating content creators? Does that make sense?
Yeah, let me hit that one. I guess from my perspective, it's recognizing I wouldn't call us an ad-supported content service. If you were to maybe take it to an extreme, right? We're very much a community-based service. That's what we are. That's what we do really, really well and unique and differentiated. But it is also true that our large streamers can do really well with ads, especially after we effectively doubled the rev share. So if that's a way for you to, and as we know, when chat gets busy and the communities get very, very large, subbing and cheering and gifting just don't have the same meaning that they do for smaller streamers. So it is just really, and I think the most important thing about our ad incentive program, like opt into it or don't. It's really up to you in terms of how you want to monetize your content. We ads are cyclical. So I know, last October, November, December, there's some great ad offers out there. And I know some streamers were really, really happy to run, 5-6 minutes of ads because it really made a huge, huge difference. Beginning of this year, things fell off a bit. Some of those offers came down. It wasn't because we were taking any money from you. It's just we didn't have the ads that we did at the end of last year. So I expect the second half of this year, things will peak back up again. And some of you
December's
will
always
see
bigger
some.
for that, isn't it?
Yeah,
the holiday time
generally
when everyone's trying to get out their advertisements and stuff.
September through December really is where the sweet spot is. So, again, hopefully some of you will run some ads and make some money and be happy about it. But if you don't, that's fine too.
Co, it's kind of interesting as you ask that question, if you don't mind me with a frame there. At the start of the show, JP asked how long we've worked here. And one of the things that occurs to me is when I started here, we had about 10,000 partners. We now have 60-something thousand partners and 2 million affiliates, and you have a lot of people streaming. Like there's just a lot more people streaming, right? It used to be you had, again, roughly about 10,000 concurrent streams at any given time. I think at some point during 2020, we passed 170,000 streams live in the same moment on Twitch. It's now settled back down around the 100,000 range. And as a result of that, it used to be that there was like one customer that you were building for at Twitch, and it was just this group of 10,000 partners. And you could almost literally know everybody by name. Almost every staff member was aware of all the partners. You knew what the meta was, even as an employee every day, because it was actually quite small. And Twitch is just very big now. And part of that means that different elements of what we're launching are for different folks. So to Mike's point, ads are a really important part of growing revenue stream for folks about your size and larger, which is why it may seem to you like it's an ads service that is content supported. For folks who are, pre-affiliate, affiliate, and even very new partners, ads are still a massive minority of their earnings, right? That is overwhelmingly community products to the point of ads are almost irrelevant. And so one of the things that I think we're always working through is how do we make it clear who different products are for? And how do we try and build that level of understanding about the different arcs of the journey? And it's partly why you'll see what looks like a conflicting, but it's actually a very consistent idea where Mike on the main stage last week was both, we're doing more with ads and you're making more money from ads, but also we're working really hard to make sure the pre-rolls aren't running on channels if you've got new viewers, right? Because it's all about how do we make sure that like when you as a creator choose to run a mid-roll, because they're very valuable for you, that they work, but it shouldn't just be a one size fits all. Because if there's anything we know about Twitch is that no channel is the same and one size never fits, even the majority, let alone all.
And excellent perspective. And obviously the more options, the better. And just a side thing, I'm sure we can't talk about this too much as it involves things that haven't been announced or come out. But one thing that I think a lot of people are really wanting to know, and most importantly, people that call Twitch their home are wanting to see, there's other sites that do similar things that were made unnamed that may not have ads at all, or more importantly, have better ways to manage ads, like, pausing the content and then letting you speed it up afterwards, things of that nature. We haven't seen, there has been movement on Twitch in that regard, but is there any chance we're going to see Twitch kind of like really try to catch up in terms of like, there's this weird discussion that always goes on in chat when it's like, I watch an hour of TV and get 8 minutes of ads. Why are these people complaining? It's like, well, that's not live content. And it seems as with Twitch owning its own platform and really being at the top of the game, let's be blunt, like you guys are in total control of what you could do and could try and things of that nature. Is that something that's is Twitch happy with where the ads are now? Or is it kind of like, is there a fire lit being like, we need to catch up / innovate and like really make this something? To be blunt, it's never been before in terms of allowing people to watch ads, consume ads, and not have it completely affect the show kind of thing.
Yeah, no, we're not happy to directly answer the question. Like it's clear ads are running at bad times for viewers, right? And part of that is the format itself. Video ads are interruptive. I'll address the skippable question because that comes up in every single conversation. But let me just pre-answer that one real quick. So like what we've said is we value,
say it for the record.
we value synchronized ad breaks. And what we mean by that is a lot of ads that are 1 to 3, 4 minutes long versus pre-rolls or other types of experiences. Now, a lot of times in one of the announcements we talked about, like streamers just don't know the ad break's going to run. If they did, they may do something about it. And then you can take that even further. Why does it have to be the streamer? Why not their editors? Why not maybe mods or trusted members of the community? If an ad's running at a bad time for one person, it's bad for everybody. So part of it is like helping you synchronize the breaks in a way that is actually better with live. The other thing I talked consistently about, we have not yet, I think there's just such a huge opportunity for these, what we call the stream display ads, which are display ads that run below or next to the stream that, don't generally viewers are like, oh, sure, I'll take more of those. They're
Most
actually
importantly,
bothering
in
me.
parallel with the content, right?
Yeah, running at the
Right,
same
in
time.
parallel,
Okay.
does not interrupt. If you look at it from an equivalency perspective, if you look at what a video ad is worth versus what a display ad is worth, it's about 4 to 5 to 6 of those display ads equal one video ad, just from a pure, earnings perspective. So if we get enough of those, and optimistic our friends at Amazon are working on it, that, for many streamers, they could get to a point where it's just, I'll take those ads and not the other
You
ads.
can opt into something like that.
At some point, right? We have to have enough demand, to be able to offer that type of flexibility, but like give more control. And if, so video ads aren't ideal. There's a limit to how many video ads you can have, but when we're going to have video ads, we want them synchronized, and then we want to increase the display ads, non-interruptive piece, and then sponsorships. We've had Bounty Board out there for years, really hasn't scaled in the way that's been meaningful for most streamers. We've, went back and working on new sponsorship type products that we hope will be another, call it a 3-legged stool, right? Video, display, sponsorships. We want to grow display and sponsorships to, video sized earnings for streamers.
I think there's also a reference in your question, Coda, like what I would call DVR, for those of you who remember being able to pause things and record and
Stop,
catch
speed
up.
up thing.
Yeah.
And there's a couple questions in chat around that as well. I see Barry answering some of them. Thank you, Barry, which is like those things are expensive to build and run and quite complex.
That's a video player update, right? Like that's not a video. Like,
Yeah, the essential thing is like a streamer could run a 3-minute ad, and then when the 3-minute ad is up, viewers would then continue the live show from where it stopped and have
As
the
if the
option to
moment
like
had-
2x the speed, 5x the speed. There'd be a button that says go live, which would then skip all the content up to the live, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. And let me kind of dive into that, because this is not to say we wouldn't. I think this is one of those every year when we sit down and we're like ask ourselves for annual planning, we ask the question like, is this the year that we do DVR? Some of it is that is really expensive. But a really big insight that helps me try and address that question every year is one of the things we know just from looking at like what we would call hand wave latency. So how long between the time I wave my hand here and chat sees it? Every time we have reduced hand wave latency even a little bit, the level of interactivity in your chat and ultimately subspend goes up, because the degree to which it is a two-way conversation between streamer and chat has a meaningful impact on the extent to which this feels like I'm being broadcast at versus a part of that community. So if we get to a place where go like, great, we have DVR, I can run, 6 minutes of ads an hour now, great. If everybody is watching at different speeds and everybody is in a different place in the video, you shard that community experience really meaningfully, and it massively drops the rate at which people interact in chat, and or you can have a back and forth conversation, because it's pretty easy for me to forget that I paused it, I walked away, I'm now watching, and I am 5-10 minutes behind, and I type in chat, and it's kind of disruptive and confusing to everybody who is currently live and back and forth. So that's not to say we won't solve this. I think we will, but it is both a technical challenge, but it is also for me a like experience design challenge of like, how do I help people understand where I am? It's not so much of a worry if I am 30 seconds back when I'm watching sports on the weekends, except that my friends are texting me to say, did you see that shot? And I'm like, fuck you, I'm not up to date yet.
Sure.
Barry, please add a vulgarity tag.
That was not excessive.
It was not excessive. I can get there.
Right.
But I do think that for live interactive content like this, having the audience sharded across different levels of the kind of, or different timings, actually is more of a problem than it may feel like. I guess I would posit the services where you appreciate that functionality is because on those services you don't expect any interactivity or community.
To a much lesser degree. They're certainly not known
different.
for it. So it's different expectations to manage.
Yeah.
For sure. Cool.
Yeah.
Good answer. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's I don't think people have realized that before. I certainly haven't thought about it in
And it's interesting because whenever I thought of like the Twitch DVR thing, my thought would always be you could see chat but not participate until you are live again.
Yep.
Mm.
That could totally be part of the design. Yep, that makes sense.
In which case, though, just like you said, you are effectively removing those people from chat until they catch up, and then they'd have to miss content to chat and chat, which obviously is not optimal. So,
and this isn't to say, by the way, that we've got it nailed right now, because something like, I think our estimates are something like half of all clips are because people missed something and they want to go back, either because of an ad break or something. And so people hit the clip button, because when you hit the clip button, it generates the last 30 seconds for you. You can watch it.
That is
people
crazy
don't name
interesting
them.
data to have access to.
They just use crappy clips as a DVR. And we experimented a little bit with that kind of 5-minute rewind button that you saw last year.
Just auto
as a
clip
result
type
of that.
deal.
It's pretty much what it was using. It was using the clips back end in order to kind of extend a long clip for you to watch.
Yeah.
Wow, the amount of people in chat that just confirmed what you said.
Oh yeah, I've seen
eye-opening.
I've seen it in my own.
I knew that. Yep, that's me. He's talking about me.
I've done it myself, and I've seen it in the clip database in the back end for sure. On the topic of video players and stuff, I see it come up in chat. I think AV1 is like the big buzz, right? Streamers want to be able to push more bit rate or lower bit rate with a better quality codec, blah, 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 blah. Anything to say on that front, AV1?
This 8K isn't doing it. I'd like 45, please.
Probably nothing to dive into there except to say the number of your viewers who can receive the level of bit rate that you're hoping to push is dramatically less than even your lowest expectations.
Sure. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yep.
Makes sense.